story time.
Sarah, wake up! Sarah! Khalid called out to Sarah and shook her to wake her up. Sarah interrupted him while he was calling her and said, "What's wrong, Khalid? Why are you waking me up? What creature did you see tonight? Tell me, because I have no other job but you every night, my little brother." Khalid said, trembling with fear. "Why won't you believe me? I swear there's someone in the house watching me every night, especially when Mom and Dad are not home. I swear I've seen someone. I was sitting reading a book and suddenly I heard footsteps near my room. For a moment I thought it was you, but when I called out to you, you didn't answer. I placed the book on the bed and went to see who was outside, but I found no one. I returned to my room, started reading again, and then I saw the door opening, but there was no one there. My body trembled and I covered myself with the blanket. I peeked behind it, hoping it was just my imagination, but suddenly a hand, not human, with wolf-like claws leaned on the door. Then his eyes appeared, blazing like fire. I covered my face with the blanket, hoping it would go away or that I was imagining things. After a few minutes, I lifted the blanket and there was no one there. I ran to your room, Sarah. I swear this is what happened." Sarah listened to him with semi-drowsy eyes and said in a sleepy voice, "And what do you want now, Khalid? Every night you tell me this story with a different description of the creature. Yesterday its fingers were short but sharp, and its eyes were as dark as the night. The day before, its hand was severed and replaced with an iron hand, and its eyes were as white as snow. And now its hands are like a wolf's and its eyes are blazing like fire. I really wonder what creature will come to you tomorrow." Khalid replied, almost in tears, "Why won't you believe me, Sarah? I swear I see all these creatures. I am truly scared, I swear to God. Please come with me and let's see who is in the house. I swear they haven't left yet. I have a feeling that there's someone else in the house besides us." Sarah responded angrily, "I will. What? I have been tired all day and I want to rest. I have a lot of work tomorrow. You should also sleep. You have school tomorrow. Leave these creatures of yours and the books you are reading and go to sleep." Khalid responded with tears and fear, "Let me sleep here tonight. I swear my legs are trembling with fear." Sarah, surrendering to her brother's fear, said, "Come, sleep beside me and don't toss and turn. I don't like the way you sleep." Khalid hurriedly went to sleep next to her and went under the covers, but he was still trembling. His sister hugged him to calm him down a little, but suddenly a hand appeared from under her room's door. Sarah screamed loudly, almost deafening, and Khalid jumped up and hid behind her, asking, "What's wrong, Sarah?" Sarah pointed her finger at the room's door, and when Khalid looked, he also screamed. It was the same hand that had been leaning on his room's door a while ago. Now it was in his sister's bedroom. He swallowed hard and said in a trembling voice, "What do we do now, Sarah?" But she didn't answer him. Shock had silenced her. She felt like she had lost her ability to speak, didn't know what to say. She held her brother's hand tightly and said after a while, "Give me the phone from beside you, Khalid." He reached out to take the phone but couldn't find it. He started searching for it, but there was no trace. He turned to tell his sister that he couldn't find it, but the words froze in his mouth when he saw the phone in the hand reaching from under the door. Silence fell over the place. Only the sound of their rapid breathing out of fear could be heard. This silence was broken by the sound of the door opening, and the strange thing was that the creature's hand was still under the door. So who was opening it? Is there someone else there? Sarah and Khalid screamed, and Sarah quickly got up and headed towards the room's light to turn it on. Khalid remained sitting on the bed, trembling in terror. But when the light came on, she looked towards the room's door and found nothing, and saw her phone lying on the floor next to the door. She cautiously approached it, holding a vase of roses. When she approached the phone, the hand appeared again but quickly disappeared. Sarah took the phone and quickly returned to the bed, holding Khalid in her arms, soothing him and trying to calm him down. She tried to call her father or mother, but no one answered her. She tried repeatedly, and after several attempts, someone answered her, but it was not her father. Sarah answered, "Who is with me and where is my father?" This person answered her and said, "There is no such thing as your father." His voice was strange, it was not a human voice. Sarah looked at the phone in horror and said, her voice trembling, "Who is talking? Where is my father and who are you?" She repeated the question many times, but no one answered. Then the call ended, and her father's phone appeared from under the door. Sarah hurried to take the phone and saw a message written on it. "If you want to know where your parents are, go up to the basement." Khalid said after he read what was written on the phone. "Come on, Sarah. Let's go up to the basement. Come on, I'm afraid something bad will happen to my mother and father." Sarah replied, "Don't be afraid, Khalid. Stay here and lock the door tightly. I will go up to the basement." Khalid shouted, "No, I will come with you. You won't go alone, and I won't wait here." Sarah thought for a while about what to do. Should she listen to her brother and go up together, risking both their lives? Or should she leave him here alone, which might make these creatures target him? Sarah was unsure of what to do, but she quickly made up her mind. Time was passing, and these creatures could enter the room at any moment. She decided to take him with her and protect him from these creatures, even if it meant risking her own life. She turned to her brother and said, "Don't be afraid, I'm with you. We will leave this room and go up to the basement. Stay by my side, hold my hand, and don't let go." She remembered that there were 2 hockey sticks in her closet, so she brought them and gave one to Khalid. Then she took her phone and they started moving slowly towards the room's door. Suddenly, the power went out. They quickly returned to the bed, and Sarah turned on the phone light. At that time, the door opened wide and a large shadow appeared behind it. Khalid cried from the shock, and Sarah screamed and said to Khalid, "We must leave the whole house. We will not go up to the basement, but rather we will go to the back door and go out into the street." Khalid stiffened in his place as if someone was holding him. Sarah kept pulling him from his place and telling him, "Come on, move. We must get out of here." She brought the phone light and pointed it toward Khalid. Suddenly, Khalid moved and the shadow disappeared. Sarah and Khalid quickly left the room and headed to the stairs, but it was not there. However, instead of leading them downstairs, the stairs took them upwards. They continued to scream and call for their father, hoping fate would bring him and save them. The stairs stopped moving and the cellar door appeared in front of them, and the electricity was still out. The light on the phone was about to run out. Sarah decided to enter the cellar and see what was in it. Sarah and Khalid were moving, their feet shaking with fear, their hands holding each other and the other hand of each of them holding a hockey stick. Sarah put her hands on the handle and was about to open it. Her phone rang with her mother's number. Sarah quickly opened it. When she answered, she heard someone saying, "Time is ticking. It's almost time for dawn. If you want to see your parents again, go to the basement." And then the phone hung up. Sarah was very afraid for her parents and that something bad had happened to them, so she quickly opened the door and went inside. But the place was very dark. And here the phone's light ran out, and the place became like a night in which the moon was gone and the stars turned behind the overcast clouds, and suddenly the basement door was closed. Khalid held Sarah's hand and said while struggling to stop crying, "Come on, Sarah, let's get out of here. I don't want to die. I don't want to die at the hands of these creatures." Sarah had some courage so as not to show her fear and said, "Be patient, Khalid. We will get out of here and nothing will happen to us. I am with you and I did not let anyone touch you or cause you any harm." After Sarah finished speaking, a loud sound of laughter rang out in the place. They looked around but did not find anyone. But suddenly, eyes appeared, some fiery like embers, others icy like snow, and others black mixed with red. The siblings were terrified and started to step back, only to collide with something they momentarily thought was the cellar wall. But quickly they realized it was one of those 3 creatures when it surrounded them with its hands resembling burnt tree branches, yet strong and with wolf-like claws. Paralyzed by shock, they couldn't move or escape from this creature. Sarah remembered she had her hockey stick and summoned her courage. She took a breath and then hit him in the feet. This creature was not affected by this blow, but he lowered his hands from them. If he returned what she had done to her, he would be burned immediately. Sarah and Khalid ran in the cellar, unable to see anything and stumbling along the way. Finally, they found an old mirror and hid behind it, thinking that these creatures wouldn't find their way like this. They stayed behind the mirror for some time, but suddenly, someone broke the mirror into pieces with a single blow, and the 2 brothers appeared from behind it with their eyes closed. The place was silent for a few moments, and then a red light shone in the place. They opened their eyes and were shocked by what they saw. Their father was hanging on the wall with blood all over his body and face. They started calling for him and he did not answer. They sat on the ground crying while these creatures stood behind them, watching them silently with a devilish smile on their faces. Khalid was calling for his father and crying, and Sarah was unable to believe what she was seeing because it was impossible for this to be her father. She closed her eyes, perhaps seeing a nightmare, but suddenly she felt someone carrying her and lifting her up, so she became at the level of her father. The strange thing was that she felt her father breathing, and she began to move in him. Suddenly he opened his eyes and it was like a flame, and he said in a very soft voice, "Do not be afraid, my daughter. You will soon become one of us. The coronation ceremony has already taken place." Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. She put both hands on her ears and started repeating, "No, this is not real. It's a nightmare." The red light went out and Sarah collapsed on the ground next to her brother, who had passed out from what he saw. Sarah grabbed her brother and kept calling for him, but he did not wake up. So this creature pulled her, saying, "Leave him, his turn is coming." The red light lit up again, and this time their mother appeared, and she was also hanging on the wall. But her father was not there, so where did he go? She felt a hand lifting her, and she turned around to see her father lifting her from the ground, but he had taken on a demonic form. She screamed at him to put her down, shouting, "Let me take my brother and go. We haven't done anything bad to you. What do you want?" She continued crying and screaming at him until she heard her brother's voice calling out to her in tears. But their mother's voice echoed throughout the cellar, sounding like a hissing snake, saying, "Don't be afraid, my little ones. You will come with us immediately." Then the light started to flicker intensely, and then went out for about 10 minutes. Sarah hugged Khalid and reassured him, saying, "Everything will be fine. Don't be afraid, my dear brother." But suddenly these creatures appeared in front of them, and their parents were with them, and they were saying in terrifying voices, "Do not be afraid. We will take you with us." Then one of them approached and took Sarah, and Khalid was holding her and started shouting, "Don't take her, leave her." But one of them released their grip on her and said, "Don't be afraid, little one. A few minutes and you will catch up with her." 3 of them grabbed her, and the 4th came with a sharp knife and exposed her neck. Then he approached her and whispered in her ears hoarsely, saying, "Have you ever felt those sharp things on the back of your neck?" He then laughed loudly and disgusting things poured from his mouth. He approached her again and said, "If you were not of the lineage of kings, I would drink your blood, which smells delicious." Then he took the knife and began reciting their incantations, and Khalid was crying out his sister's name while he was in tears. He wanted to save her, but someone was restricting him and preventing him from moving. They finished reciting the incantations, and this creature began to bring the knife closer to Sarah's neck, about to slaughter her. Here Khalid woke up screaming and calling for Sarah, so she quickly came to his room to see what happened to her brother, and she found him screaming, crying, and sweating. Sarah said in horror, "What is wrong with you, Khalid?" Khalid opened his eyes to her death and said, not believing what his eyes saw, "You are here. You did not go. They did not kill you, right?" He asked her, "Where are my father and mother?" Sarah answered him, "I am here. This is a nightmare, my little brother. Do not be afraid, I am next to you." And she began to calm him down until he calmed down, and then she said to him, "Come on, get up and wash so that you are not late for school, Khalid." Then she got up and went down to finish preparing the breakfast table.